You're watching TVC Breakfast. The Nigerian Association of Liquefied Petroleum Gas Marketers has commended the federal government for the removal of value-added tax on liquefied petroleum gas, otherwise known as cooking gas.
President of the association said the federal government has signed the approval of VAT removal on cooking gas and gazetted same. The increased awareness on the usage of gas as a healthier means of cooking has seen consumption in Nigeria growing from 50,000 metric tons in 2007 to over 600,000 metric tons in 2018. Consumers are now hopeful of a significant reduction in the price of cooking gas following federal government's directive. Joining me in the studio is Chairman, Personnel Practitioners Consultative Association, Ikeja Zone of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, Olakomiamo Onidundu. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to be here.
Now, what's your perception of this move by the government removing value-added tax? Is it some sort of a subsidy?
Well, it's a great move. It's sort of a subsidy, and also, I will say, it's also a way of giving back, dividends of democracy, which is a good one. Well, don't forget that Nigeria, based on experts' report, we have a capacity of over 200 trillion metric tons, of natural gas. We are within the first 10 naturally endowed nation in the whole world, but with the highest amount of natural gas. And by 2018, don't forget, we've not even scratched over 100,000 metric tons in terms of usage.
Why is that? Because Nigeria is said to have the lowest utilization.
Yes, the basic thing is, don't forget, we have a lot of potential in Nigeria, even beyond the far most advanced countries, in terms of natural endowment. But it's the usage we're saying. So I think it's something in the right direction when you are now encouraging usage. You are encouraging demand. If once demand it's more, most likely we'll begin to look in that direction.
So this, are you saying, it will deepen the domestic market?
It will. It will. At least that first of all, it will deepen the domestic demand. Don't forget nations like Russia, who also rank among the first 10, highest, naturally endowed, and also who are using it. That's why Russia is able, to hold the economy of the entire Europe, at the jugular, because Russia supplies most of the natural gas to all the homes in Europe. And I'm looking at the government also, now moving from, encouraging the local consumption also to now dominating the entire West African market, Central African market, East African market with this resource. I think we should begin to look at this in terms of diversification, of our economy.
Perhaps this is the reason why the government has reached an agreement with two original manufacturers to deliver about 600,000 cylinders to distributors who will be in charge. They'll take over the aspect of delivering cylinders and all of that to homes. But then when you compare this side by side, the population, how much does that cover? Because Nigeria is said to have a population explosion, so to speak.
You're very right. I will say that, look, it's a good step in the right direction. At least, the OEMs, as we call them, or equipment manufacturers. Once they first of all supply this and the market consumes it, we will know that they have to also increase production. This is a step in the right direction in the first instance. In the final analysis, where we should be looking at is even piping to the homes. As it's been done in advanced nations. That's what we should be looking at, because the cost of even, producing this, and also the safety issues, piping to homes is much more, making it portable gas.
How safe is piping to homes? You know how it is when it comes to pipelines, vandalism, and all of that. Is that safe as well?
Well, don't forget also it's a vicious cycle. There are reasons why vandalization is going on. Let's take care of those reasons. Let's give back to this community where we are, getting these natural resources and all that. I think once we resolve those societal issues, there won't be vandalization. And a lot of education also should be on, the issue, of the potential and also the returns, to those communities. And I think, things will go well. It's a good step in the right direction.
All right. Olakomiamo Onidundu, thank you for your time on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you.
At Petroleum Gas Marketers has commended the federal government for the removal of value-added tax on liquefied petroleum gas, otherwise known as cooking gas.
President of the association said the federal government has signed the approval of VAT removal on cooking gas and gazetted saying the increased awareness on the usage of gas as a healthier means of cooking has seen consumption in Nigeria growing from 50,000 metric tons in 2007 to over 600,000 metric tons in 2018.
Consumers are now hopeful of a significant reduction in the price of cooking gas following federal government's directive. Joining me in the studio is Chairman, Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, Ikeja Chapter, and Managing Consultant, OMP Consult, Olakomi Amu Onidundu. It's good to have you join me right now, Olakomi. The point there is, besides the project where the government intends to have a 600,000 penetration of LPG as soon as possible, there's also the issue of the ban on ownership of private ownership of cylinders, where it's going to be the property of the dealers and distributors and all of that. This is good, lots of commendation, but how realistic would this be when it comes to the distribution and allowing this to reach more people?
There is nothing difficult when you have a will to do something. Okay. I think the government, as we have it, have shown us that they are willing to do this. Having contacted those OEM, original equipment manufacturers to produce this, it's something doable. But I'm saying there is still a loftier, goal that we should aim at, and that is to channel pipes into homes, so that we don't also have the potential, problem of we have to subsidize even taking this gas by transportation to areas farther than we had.
Do you think that, although the template hasn't been made known on how this will be executed, but do you think that it should be test run in some places, maybe even like Abuja before it is, because there are some people who already have gas cylinders. The idea of the penetration is for people who don't have, so they can, bring in more people on board.
Great. If it will be test run, it will not be at Abuja.
Okay.
My take.
Why not?
It will be at the source.
Okay.
One of the clamor for people at the Niger Delta area is that they are not, being given an opportunity to benefit from the resource that you are taking from them. So this will be, there is a political and social agenda, that should also be examined in executing such policies. Okay. One of the ways to also free nerves, is first of all to give them also the benefit of this thing. Over 100,000 metric tons is wasted, is flared on a daily basis anyway. So pipe their homes, pipe their houses, even possible. Give them this, bottles and all that. Let them use it, because also, when that is done, you will find that, look, they will be much more predisposed, even when you want to do it for other places, to say, we've enjoyed the benefit. And even when you're thinking of piping in future, when you start it from that source, it is difficult, to destroy what you've enjoyed.
All right. What do you think about the culture of, some Nigerians just enjoy using the firewood. Others just enjoy using.
Particularly for some things like moi moi. Yes.
Are you sending signals that you're one of those Nigerians? We've had some people.
A Nigerian, jollof rice.
It's
cooks differently.
Now, some people have come. I've often heard some people say that, the food cooked on firewood is sweeter, and all of that. We've often heard them say all of those kind of things. So it has to do with the way of life and culture of a people over time, from one generation to the other. How challenging would it be, trying to unlearn that kind of idea?
Don't forget.
So that people don't get these cylinders and keep them as souvenirs in the house.
You're very right. You're very right. But it's an habit, and we are creatures of habit. But over time, if it's encouraged, mass media, education, if it's over time, you find that people will shift. We should do the mass mobilization right through the traditional leaders, world leaders, and all that. Mobilize people. And once this is done, you'll find that people will easily take to it. Over time, it will change.
Now, there's also the plan to ban roadside gas dealers and all of the ones we see by the roadside. I wonder what concern you have with that.
I have a concern because a whole lot of people, for now, it shouldn't be that we are putting that on the fore. when we have not, already, certified how, we will get those things easier to people, because they get it easier to people. So don't let us put that on the fore in the immediate. That would be my advice. Get the logistics right in terms of, the major way in which you will get this gas to people and all that before you ban those roadside sellers. And I know that on the, looking at it holistically, they are looking at the health and safety issues, which is true, but when you look at records, we must make policies based on records. When you look at records, in terms of fire incidents that have occurred, with these roadside,
courtesy of all of this roadside.
Do we have any record that shows that, look, it's increasing, or it's this rate and all that? We don't even have that. So you will be blocking a whole lot of other people from making, means of, or living and all that.
Anyway, we've also heard the government say that there's a likelihood of transforming those people into some, cooperative, where they are part of the micro distribution centers and all of that, so that you don't wipe them out of the market and put them in the labor market. Anyway, thank you very much for coming, and maybe that's moi and Nigerian jollof by through the firewood. Maybe we'll have it for the last time before this policy comes into play.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Olakomi Amon-Idundu. Thank you so much for coming. Right.
Joining me in the studio is Chairman Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, Ikeja Chapter, and Managing Consultant, OMP Consult, Olakomi Amon-Idundu. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Yeah, good morning.
Now, several persons have lauded this move by the federal government, but then the question has to do with implementation, how the government is going to ensure that this runs smoothly as it has planned.
Well,
do you see any challenge in sight?
I don't imagine that policies would be arrived at without having done due diligence in terms of, seeing how they were executed. But I will want to say that there should be some pilot schemes. Let's do some toe in the water pilot schemes, maybe particularly around, the host communities, where this natural gas, is being, harvested. So the pilot scheme will help us to know how best, to also replicate in other areas. And likewise, a pilot scheme around the Niger Delta area, from where we really, get this liquefied natural gas, will also help, in assuaging frayed nerves of these communities that have complained over the years, of pollution, of, taking and not giving back to their communities and all that. So it will even make it now more sellable to other areas. But it will be a test scheme that can help us to see how we can succeed, deal with teething problems and all that, if so done.
All right. Now, another aspect, the government has talked about distribution, where about 600,000 gas cylinders will be made available. Now, the issue has to do with how successful as well this will be, because when you look at the aspect of electricity, there were persons who are meant to be distributors, and yet the government still has to wade in one way or the other. Is that what we might be seeing here again? Well,
my own suggestion will be totally, to devoid government in whatever has to do, with, such a venture. It should be a total private enterprise, because you see, government has not proven in any line of climb to be very good in commercial ventures. This is still a commercial venture. Okay, so government should have left this issue of providing bottles, and all that to private individuals. Just like you alluded to the challenge with,
electricity
and all that. It's because, government is still being involved. Leave it totally to give government's role.
The capacity of those people to deliver has been the challenge.
The capacity is because the enabling environment, they signed some dotted lines when they were going to take over the electricity and all that. But they are also complaining that government is still holding their hands down by not creating all the enabling environment and all that. They met a whole lot of challenges and problems on ground. And so I would say, you know, having run for maybe 3-4 years of that venture, they are still, you know, battling with teething problems because there are no enabling structures.
Now, how will this impact the domestic market, seeing that we are still making imports when it comes to gas?
Gas. You know, I will say the domestic market can consume, you know, the 6,000 bottles or so, and even more. This is where I would expect that, look, a lot of mass mobilization efforts, education effort, because also don't forget there is a need also for cultural shift. People are, particularly in the villages, are used to using firewood. Okay, you know, the palate of people, you know, are used to certain wood, wood prepared, you know, delicacies like moi moi, like you know, jollof rice. People will claim that, look, it tastes better with firewood. But you see, it's a matter of cultural change, it's a matter of educating them, it's a matter of also showing them the repercussions, the adverse effect of using, you know, these biofuels, you know, that is, you know, depleting our environment, you know, making them to understand the repercussion on the long run. You know, when people see facts and figures, I think they are much more predisposed even to embracing this new move of
the government.
Yes.
All right, Olakomi Amo, Onudundu, thank you for your time on TVC Breakfast.
You're welcome.